So welcome back to the Dynasty Football Maniacs. Um, so today's episode, we're going to cover wide receivers. Me and Austin's going to give our top 10 wide receivers. We just did two shows on free agent projections. So we're going to start with the news and notes. How about that, Austin? You got some news and notes?
Yeah. So let's throw everybody some news and notes from the past couple of days. Uh there's two main things that I saw that I thought was noteworthy to bring up. And the first one was the Steelers opening to trade talks to trading Deontay Johnson. I thought that was pretty interesting. I figured they would want to keep Deontay Johnson, especially helping with whoever that quarterback winds up being, since there's so many rumors of them moving on from Kenny Pickett. But I thought that was pretty interesting. That's why I wanted
Yeah.
to bring that up.
Well, how about this take? I do believe that Justin Fields will probably still stay at Chicago. But what if there is a trade with him and Deontay Johnson? He goes to the Steelers, and they do draft Caleb Williams. Then you got two wide receivers there. You can throw that one out there. That's a rumor we just tossed out there on our own.
Right. All right. I could see that. And
Because
then
because the Steelers have been interested in Fields, so it'd be kind of interesting to see if that is some truth to it. But I still want to feel like Chicago ain't gonna give up on Fields. So it's my stance.
right, I got you. Well, my second note that I got was also pretty interesting too, that there were rumors going around saying that the 49ers are open to trading Brandon Ayuk.
Ooh, I haven't heard that one.
I saw something pop up the other day. I ain't seen much traction of it, but it's kind of amazing that it was even brought up in the beginning. I know they already done accepted his 5th year option, so he's good for 2024, but he'll be due for an extension in 2025. So it kind of makes me curious because, I thought Brandon Ayuk played a lot better than Debo did this past year, but we'll see. I think that was very interesting.
All right. So the only other things that I think are newsworthy is you got Jerry Judy getting traded to the Browns. Wow. And
Yeah, I didn't see that coming.
no, that was like in left field. And the other thing is I guess the NFL just feels like Mac Jones is a backup because he is headed to the Jaguars, which was another wow. Did not see that one coming. But I don't know what their plans are. I don't know how all that's shaking out. I mean, I thought Trevor Lawrence was doing pretty good down there. I mean, maybe I'm not
I,
seeing something they're seeing.
well,
I don't understand it.
I think it's just more of solidifying the backup quarterback because, as you saw when Trevor Lawrence was out of the game when he was hurt last year, it did not look pretty.
No, it
It,
didn't.
the backup quarterback spot in Jacksonville did not look pretty after Trevor Lawrence went down. So I think this is actually a pretty good fit for the Jaguars, especially if Trevor Lawrence were to get hurt again. But I think the Jaguars need to actually bolster up that offensive line. Doesn't matter who's back there at a quarterback. I still think they need help on the offensive line.
Right. And the other thing is Kansas City, they're definitely stuck on Jones. So Jones is staying there in Kansas City. They're going to keep that defense beefed up and ready to go for the next year. Maybe they're trying that repeat, triple peat, whatever you want to call it.
You know,
But
it's crazy because now they only have $1 million, like a little over $1 million in cap spaces. They're going to be very interesting on how they maneuver around that going forward.
well, they still have a few players on their list they could cut on the 13th. I mean, I believe if I remember correctly, and I'd have to bring it up. Don't quote me on this. I want to say there was 14 other players, and I think there's room where they can make room because these weren't really notable. Well, I mean, everybody's notable there, but I believe they'll juggle around what they need to juggle around. And them owners they meet during the summer, they might just up their cap. Who knows what they're going
Yeah,
to do?
yeah. Who knows at this point?
I mean, they change the rules and do other things, so who knows?
Right.
So let's start with our top 10. Let's get into this real quick. We're going
Hang
to do
on.
our.
before we get into the meat of it, would you like to hear the question of the episode?
Sure. What's the question of the episode?
So I want people to drop it on the comments too to let me know what you think. But the question I thought would be interesting was where do you think or who would be the best fit for Baker Mayfield?
Mm,
Because he's in a free agency. There's a lot of quarterback needy teams that all have different plans and stuff. But after what we saw at Tampa last year, it's kind of like he kind of I wouldn't. It was not like a full research, but I think he brought his career back up with that performance at Tampa. So it'd be interesting. The main question I would like to know, and I want everybody else to tell me too, is where they think that be the best fit for Baker Mayfield.
all right. So you know what my take on it because I covered it in free agency. I think Tampa will probably end up getting the deal done.
Well, now, yes, everyone needs to check that episode out if they want to hear some more in depth on that. But comment down below. I want to hear what y'all think about where the best fit for Baker Mayfield would be.
Yep. So
All right,
moving
so
on.
now let's get to the meat of it.
All right. So on
Yep.
the top three, I'm not sure how to lay this out because honestly, we have the same top three, just a little different order, and not really
Oh,
that
really?
much of a different order.
Okay.
So we both agree on Justin Jefferson,
Right.
hands down. Even with the injury, and he was only ranked 26, but that's because of an injury. But he still got over 1,000 yards this year. So I mean, when he's playing and he's up to health, he is the number one wide receiver. That's who you should be drafting in any of your fantasy leagues. Uh, Number two, I think someone deserves to be in the mix for number two. I think there's two that are vying for the number two spot, and they should both equally be respected.
Okay.
You have Jamar Chase. I put CeeDee Lamb. And I know CeeDee Lamb didn't jump out until the last 2 years as more of that number two guy. But if you put the numbers together between the two, it's a debate. I mean, you could put them either way. I mean, it's really pick your poison at this point. I mean, they're both over 1,000 yards. CeeDee Lamb had a little bit more in fantasy points this year. So, I mean,
Well, Jamar got hurt too. He was out a couple of games too, but he still did excellent even when he was out. I think Jamar would actually have done a lot better if Joe Burrow actually wouldn't have got hurt. And I mean, you can go either way, but the only concern I have is, well, obviously we're gonna put Justin Jefferson number one, hands down. But I mean, the only concern I have is their quarterback situation. I We need to see what their quarterback situation is, if they're going to stick with Kirk Cousins or if they're going to go out and, sign a free agent or, get a rookie. We
yeah.
just don't know. Right now, we're all speculating he's still going to be the top dog because he's just so good. He's
Well,
just
see,
so good. But
I look at it like this. I think Justin Jefferson, no matter who you threw behind his quarterback, he's that good. A lot of the catches he gets are catches some other receivers would not be able to catch. And then the ones that come right to him, it hardly ever drops. So, I mean, when he's playing, he's top of the line. Now, going back to Jamar Chase and CeeDee Lamb, yes, Jamar Chase was injured. He was out one game. CeeDee Lamb played all 17, but I mean, CeeDee Lamb last year, for fantasy wise, just in a PPR, he put up over 403 points. That was pretty impressive. I mean, I just think the contention's there. But like I said,
what?
it's pick your poison. It's
Well, the
truly,
schedule. Well, the schedule for the Cowboys in the second half was one of the easiest schedules to go up against. And then when CD after the 49ers game, CD went in there to Mike McCarthy and they talked. Some people might have got a little different opinion on it, thinking that he's trying to be a prima donna or whatever. But I mean, it makes sense to give your best player the ball a lot and to do amazing things like that. Now, the only concern I have with CD coming in this year is what are the Cowboys doing with Dak? You know, they're still in extension. There's some people they say they're in extension talks. Some people say they're not talking about it at all. So it makes me wonder if they don't do an extension this year with Dak, it just makes me wonder if it's like a prove it year for Dak because they didn't give an extension to Mike McCarthy either because they were like, okay, well, this is like your last chance to get to where we want to go. But it's going to be interesting. But you can go either way with Jamar Chase or CD, especially when Jamar Chase when Joe Burrow comes back. I would, you know, I would actually put Jamar Chase over Justin Jefferson after Joe Burrow comes back, and if Kirk Cousins leaves and they get somebody else, I can see Jamar Chase actually jumping over Justin Jefferson.
That would be interesting. Next year will be a lot to watch and see. So yeah, I can't argue that. I mean, then top three. I mean, there's a lot to
Right.
say up there. So
Oh yeah.
I believe we got another wide receiver maybe going to join them this year. So we'll see
And we
next year when we have that discussion. Which one is it going to be? 'Cause I believe one of the rookies are going to be right up there with the top three next year. But
I can see that.
yeah, we'll get into that when we. So with that being said, the next one we both agree. We both have St. Brown as number 4. Um, so I mean he ranked number 3 last year in fantasy points and for wide receivers and yardage. So yeah, he did pretty good. Number 5, we disagree. You got number 5, you have AJ Brown, and I have Tyreek Hill. So I will let you tell me why you got AJ Brown there in the 5th spot.
Well, have you not seen the man play? He plays like he's a man possessed. He's finished number 5 and amongst wide receivers this past year. And
Yes.
I mean, even with Devontae Smith, he still commanded the targets, and
Yes.
he will continue to command the targets. Now, my only concern is the Eagles wound up having a losing streak that was very concerning, which I'm not sure what the whole ordeal is with that. I'm not sure if it's organizational thing. I don't know if it's AJ Brown's just frustrated with how things are going or whatever. But either way, I think they'll get that situation taken care of. But I mean, he's pretty because AJ Brown is pretty consistent, and he's younger than Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill was 30 or going to turn 30 this year, if he's not already 30. And AJ Brown's only 26. Now, if we were doing a redraft, I would probably pick Tyreek Hill over AJ Brown, but I have AJ Brown just because he's young. I mean, if you have to, especially in Dynasty, you have to consider the age. And like I said earlier, Tyreek Hill, you know, he said that once his contract is up with the Dolphins, he was going to retire. Now, like I said, it could change from now to then, but as far as I know, AJ Brown's still got a long time to play because he's only 26.
All right, you have a pretty good argument because this is a dynasty ranking, so I couldn't really argue with that. Even though Tyreek did finish second in the
Now,
wide receivers,
now
but
I will say if you're a contender, I would go with Tyreek, but since we're an overall dynasty, I would have to go with over AJ Brown. But
a big difference in points, about 100 points in fantasy points between AJ Brown and Tyreek Hill. Looking at this, It's a little less than 300.
Well, when you get into the red zone and your mainstay is the tush push when you're in Philly, I mean, that's where a lot of the fantasy points goes to if it's, red zone touchdowns.
Well, AJ Brown ain't the one going in for the touchdown. It's always Jalen Hurts.
That's why I said the tush push.
Yeah, but
The
he's
tush
not
push
part of
is
the
always
tush.
taking it.
Yeah, but he's not the tush push guy, so he's not
Nope,
getting them fantasy points.
nope. He's a good big body for the red zone, though.
Yes, he is. So, yeah, I could see that argument for Dynasty. I would definitely probably with the age. Yeah, I can see going with AJ. Now, I don't have AJ too far down my list. I have him ranked number 7. You have Tyreek Hill at 8. So, I mean, we have him in our top 10, just swapped up. But the next one we both agree on. The next one is Garrett Wilson.
I
So,
still, I still have hope. I still have hope. It's just I know the Jets are going to find a way to screw it up.
yeah, I, I, I can't argue that. I mean, they do a pretty good job. He struggled this year just a little bit, not by much. I'll see where he finished this year.
He finished wide receiver 26 in fantasy,
Garrett Wilson.
and
There
a
we
lot of
go.
that have and a lot of that had to do with quarterback play too.
Yep, 26 he finished. Yeah, a lot of that would be quarterback, but the age and the potential's there. So I would definitely keep him in my top 10 for fantasy going outlook because
And especially when Aaron Rodgers coming back. Now, I know some people might think Aaron Rodgers is done and stuff, but until I actually see the man play, I'm not going to just chalk him up yet to just, being done and washed up. I mean, besides the Achilles there, he's been pretty well on taking care of his body. So it'll be very
right.
interesting to see. It'll be very interesting.
So number 7, you have Puka Nacua. And what a surprise he was.
He
Now I
was He was. I just don't see it happening again like it did last year. I think there's going to be a regression.
I think so too, and I was fixing to get in that. I think he is in the top 10 this year as finishing out for wide receiver, number 4. Total fantasy points is 298 and a half for a PPR league. He had over 1,486 yards. Um, I believe he is one of them normal wide receivers we see when they come out. They have that top 10 finish, and then next year they just break the 20. I think he'll still stay in the top 20. I just don't think we'll see him in the top 10 next year. That's just my honest opinion on Matthew Stanford. It depends if he stays healthy, what goes on there. Um, be interested in what Los Angeles Rams do. I mean, I honestly just don't think he's a repeat in the top. And I could be wrong. I mean, next year he might just throw down and there he is in the top 5. Tell us all we don't know what we're talking about. So
I still think he's going to be good. I still think he's going to be in the top 10, but I don't think it's. I don't think he'll. I don't think he'll get top 5.
okay. See, I have him lower than you. So okay. So the next one you have is Tyreek Hill, which we already talked, and I added Chris Olave for Saints. You also have him at number 9 spot, so it's not too far off. He's still young. I think he's doing really great. He came out the same year as Garrett. I sometimes debate if I should have him above Garrett. It's just Garrett Wilson shows more sometimes than he does. So it's like he is lower on my rankings, but he's still in my top 10. It really depends on the quarterback situation there in the Saints. I mean, Derek Carr has his up and downs and his issues, and Chris did finish 16 this year, so he did finish in the top 20. Um, So it'll be
Yeah.
interesting to see what happens in the future.
Yeah, the only reason why I have Garrett Wilson higher than Chris Olave is because of the potential. And, well, I mean, until proven otherwise, Garrett Wilson is going to be playing with a future Hall of Famer. I don't care what you say until it's proven Aaron Rodgers can still play. So
Oh yeah.
that's the reason why I have him higher than Chris Olave. And then now Chris Olave is good, but it's just, I'm not really a Derek Carr fan. He just made way too many inconsistent mistakes, and I didn't really see any quality leadership from Derek Carr. And in the beginning, it kind of looked like he was mad at Chris Olave.
Yeah, it
And
did.
it kind of looked like he was mad at Chris Olave. I don't know if that was true or not, but the body language I saw on the field and stuff, I mean, I don't know. I mean, they might have chalked it up over the offseason or this offseason, something. They might be best friends now. But what I saw kind of looked like they were very inconsistent, wasn't on the same page. So that's the reason why I had Garrett Wilson over Chris Olave.
All right. I, I can see that. So I threw one in there that you did not have in your top 10. So
Okay.
my number 9 is Michael Pittman Jr.
Yeah.
So I had
See,
Michael Pittman Jr.
he's
as
just right
my
out of
number 9.
mine. He's just right out of my top 10
So he
because I have,
finished
go ahead.
so he finished number 13 in wide receivers this year.
Okay.
And he was out one game. So he only played 16. Jamar Chase played 15. Jamar Chase finished 11. He finished 13. Receiving yards is about the same. Jamar Chase had a little bit more average, 12.2. Michael Pittman had 10.6. Touchdowns is what makes the difference.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
So Jamar Chase was able to get in that end zone a little bit better than Pittman. But I definitely
Yeah.
would keep him in my top 10 because a lot of people don't pick up on him a lot. I noticed a lot of times I get him in a draft. Uh, it's usually about third, fourth round in a redraft, and then if you did a startup, he probably in a dynasty, he'd probably go around what 10th, maybe 6th.
The only concern I have for Michael Pittman is he actually didn't become relevant until Anthony Anthony Richardson left with an injury and Gardner Minshew came in. Gardner Minshew was targeting him like it was nobody's business. And it's just going to be interesting to see how him and Anthony Richardson goes this coming year because from the little glimpse that we had, Anthony Richardson kind of didn't really throw much to Michael Pittman. And of course, when you got wheels like Anthony Richardson, there's a good chance he runs with the ball too. So that's the only reason why I had him outside of my top 10. But you know, if he was there, I wouldn't. It wouldn't hurt. I would grab him. To it could easily persuade me into switching my top 10 with putting him at 10.
Okay.
But the only reason why I have him outside of my top 10 is because I have Jaylen Waddle at 10. Now, I know there's concerns with Jaylen Waddle because, well, you can say he's playing with Tyreek Hill, or you can also say that he's kind of injury prone. But I still believe that he can do something great.
Mm,
I still think he can do something great. It's just we need him to stay on the field and be a lot healthier than he has been
right.
because and because he because last year Last year in 2022, or a couple years ago in 2022, he finished 8th amongst wide receivers. In 2021, he finished 13th. He has the potential to be a top 15 receiver every year. It's just this past year he was just riddled with injuries.
Yep.
And Tyreek Hill is there too. But even with Tyreek Hill being there in 2022, he still finished in the top 10 in wide receivers. So I still think if he can just stay healthy this year, I still think he can actually finish in the top 15 this year.
Yeah, I could see that. But my number 10 is Puka. So I added him at 10. You had him at 7. So it wasn't too far drop. He's in my top
Right.
10. I think next year my list will probably change slightly, but then you're always adding new wide receivers, so that top 10 tends to fluctuate a little bit.
I think I think when it comes this time around, we'll probably, depending on landing spot, we're probably gonna have Marvin Harrison up here.
I think you're going to have Malik Neighbors too. I don't think you should
Well,
cut him out.
unless one of them goes to New England.
I think if any of them landed at New England, just after I watch some more film, let's get into the wide receivers for rookies when we get there. But I just, the more I watch Malik Neighbors and Marvin Harris, I'm like, okay, we'll talk a little bit more on the wide receivers. I'm not getting no farther in depth on that until
Yeah,
we do our
well,
rookies.
let's reel you back in.
Yeah, reel me back in because I'll get carried away with that one.
All right,
So just to
so
recap here on our top 10, you can see Austin's list and then my list. Pretty much agreement. I mean, the only different ones we added to the list that each one didn't have is I had Michael Pittman Jr. and you had Jaylen Waddle. I mean, everybody else was the same, just in a different order. I mean, consistent. They all deserve to be there.
all right, so I have a question for you.
Well, before you give me a question, let's see how the experts tier these guys. I would kind of want to look at that real quick.
Yeah, let's
And
bring it up. Let's bring it up. See how far we off from them.
yeah, about the time I said that, I clicked on the wrong button. Here we go. So the experts ranking for our top 10 is on our top 3 is all in tier 1. CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson all hit tier 1.
Hmm.
Tier 2 has Brown, St. Brown, AJ Brown, Puka, Garrett Wilson, and Tyreek Hill. And they also have a rookie in that, which we'll talk about in the next episode. I'm gonna leave it blank. Uh Chris, Jaylen Waddle, Ayute, Devontae Smith, Pittman Jr., all in the number 3. And
Hmm.
did that cover all of our top 10? Who are we missing? Chris, AJ, yeah, that covered
Nope,
everybody.
that covers everybody right there.
So none of them fall out of the top 3 tiers.
But
So
I'm gonna throw you a sleeper that I think could crack the top 10 this coming year.
who? Give me one.
I think I think it could actually be Brandon Ayuk.
Brandon Ayuk.
I think he's done solidified himself as the number one receiver now. Now, don't get me wrong, Debo is still good, and they got all them weapons out there. But when we're talking about receiving standpoints, I think Brandon Ayuk has done solidify himself as the number one target for them.
Well,
So
I don't think Samuel will probably be at San Francisco. I don't know. Doesn't he become a free agent on the 13th? They've not come up with a deal with him yet.
that's a good question. If you
I,
give me
I might be
just
wrong. I might need to look at that, but
hang on, you give me 1 second, I'm pulling it up right now.
all right. Let's
No,
see.
no, he's actually got two more years on his
Uh,
deal. He's got 2 more years on his deal. So he's still going to be there, but even so, I still think Brandon Ayuk is. could have a potential to break out and be a top 10 because They use Debo in so many different ways. Hell, they put him sometimes in the backfield to run the
Right,
ball on some occasions. So that's just one sleeper that I thought could have the potential.
right. All right, now throw your question out or your little
I
what you
got a
have for
question.
me.
All right. So it's more of a you want to play a game.
All right, I want to play a game. Yeah, let's play a game.
All right. So this is one everybody loves to play. We're gonna play keep, trade, or cut.
Oh, I hate that game. I
All
always
right.
try to skip it when I'm on cut and trade. All
Well, you ain't skipping this one, brother.
right.
Don't worry. I'll try to make it a little challenging, but at the same time not too difficult for you.
All right.
All right. So here I want to give you three players and you're going to tell me whichever one you want to keep, which one you want to trade or which one you want to cut. Just
Okay.
for just for if people don't know what kind of game we're playing. So,
And if you guys have a different opinion, please drop it in the comments. So go ahead and lay it on me,
all right.
Austin.
So, keep trade cut. You have Chris Olave, Puka Nacua, and Garrett Wilson. Keep, trade, or cut.
Just awful. You should never put them three in that same category. How do you make a decision like that? All right, so
Oh,
I gotta make a tough decision here, and I'm gonna make a tough decision.
do it.
All right. I believe I could trade any of them. So I'm gonna save that for last. Who I'm gonna keep is who I'm gonna give first. No, no, better yet, who am I gonna cut?
Mm.
I'm gonna cut Garrett Wilson. And I'm gonna
Oh,
keep
really?
Chris and I'm gonna trade Puka.
Really?
And the reason why is Garrett Wilson is with the Jets. It's unknown. If Aaron Rodgers does come back and stays healthy and throws the ball to him, I don't think Puka is going to finish in the top 20. And Chris is my best bet. So that's where I'm at on that.
Yeah. You. Yeah. Honestly, you kind of went the same route that I would have went.
Wow.
You want to do one more?
No, no, we'll do that for another episode.
Okay.
We'll be on that all day long. But yeah, throwing that up at the end of the episode,
No,
that would be fun.
I was only gonna do two.
All right, go ahead, give me another one.
I was only gonna do two. I wasn't trying to drag it out long.
All right, go ahead, give me another one.
All right. This one should be a little bit more simpler, but we'll
Okay.
see. Keep trade cut. You have Devontae Smith, Michael Pittman Jr., and DJ Moore.
I would cut Devontae Smith. I would trade Pittman, and I would keep DJ Moore.
Oh, I kind of would keep I would kind of keep Pittman. I kind of would keep Pittman, and I would trade away DJ Moore. But we still have the same one of cutting, and we would cut Devontae Smith. So
Yeah, he's
we
second
were
to
kind of
AJ
close.
Brown.
Right. All right.
All right. So
There we
if you
go.
guys like this episode on wide receivers, please hit the like button, subscribe, and share our show. Sharing is caring. Ain't that right, Austin?
Sharon is very caring.
So we definitely want you to share our show. If you have any opinions or thoughts or would like to hear something, drop it in the comment box below. We'll read it. We'll follow up on the next episode. We'll do something to cover that topic. Um,
And also, don't forget about the question of the day.
yes.
Where would be the best fit for Baker Mayfield?
Yep. And if you want any suggestions, just watch our previous episode on free agency, part 1, and you can find out where I think Baker Mayfield needs to be. All right.